Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehiot or laguim, v'natan lanu et Yeshua mishikenu haor haolam. Amen. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us by thy commandments, and has commanded us to be a light unto the nations, and has given us Yeshua the Messiah as the light of the world. Amen.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam vayed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bakar banu mekol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Bless the Lord, the Blessed One. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has chosen us from all peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, O Lord, giver of the Torah. Amen.
Parsha 44, Davarim, and Parsha 45, Va'et Canaan. No? Just one. These are the words Moshe spoke to all Israel on the far side of the Jordan River, in the desert, in the Arava, across from Suf, between Paran and Tophel, Lavan, Hatzerot, and Di Zava'av. It is 11 days' journey from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea by way of Mount Seir. On the first day of the 11th month of the 40th year, Moshe spoke to the people of Israel, reviewing everything Adonai had ordered him to tell them. This was after he had defeated Sihon, king of the Amori, who lived in Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth at Edrei. There beyond the Jordan, in the land of Moab, Moshe took it upon himself to expound this Torah and said, Adonai spoke to us in Horeb. He said, you have lived long enough by this mountain. Turn, get moving, and go to the hill country of the Amori and all the places near there in the Arava, the hill country, the Shevalah, the Negev, and by the seashore, the land of the Canaani and the Lebanon, as far as the great river, the Euphrates River. I have set the land before you. Go in and take possession of the land Adonai swore to give to your ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and their descendants after them. At that time I told you, you are too heavy a burden for me to carry alone. Adonai your God has multiplied your numbers, so that there are as many of you today as there are stars in the sky. May Adonai, the God of your ancestors, increase you yet 1,000-fold and bless you, as he has promised you. But you are burdensome, bothersome, and quarrelsome. How can I bear it by myself alone? Pick for yourselves from each of your tribes men who are wise, understanding, and knowledgeable, and I will make them heads over you." You answered me, "What you have said would be a good thing for us to do." So I took the heads of your tribes, men wise and knowledgeable, and made them heads over you, leaders in charge of thousands, of hundreds, of 50s, and of 10s, and officers tribe by tribe. At that time I commissioned your judges. Hear the cases that arise between your brothers and judge fairly between a man and his brother and the foreigner who is with him. You are not to show favoritism when judging, but give equal attention to the small and to the great. No matter how a person presents himself, don't be afraid of him, because the decision is God's. The case that is too hard for you, bring to me, and I will hear it. I also gave you orders at that time concerning all the things you were to do. So we left Horeb and went through all that vast and fearsome desert which you saw on the way to the hill country of the Amori, as Adonai our God ordered us. And we arrived at Kadesh Barnea. There I said to you, "You have come to the hill country of the Amori, which Adonai our God is giving you. Look, Adonai your God has placed the land before you. Go up, take possession, as Adonai the God of your ancestors has told you. Don't be afraid, don't be dismayed." You approached me, every one of you, and said, "Let's send men ahead of us to explore the country for us and bring back word concerning what route we should use in going up and what the cities we will encounter are like." The idea seemed good to me, so I took 12 of your men, one from each tribe, and they set out, went up into the hills, came to the Eshcol Valley, and reconnoitered it. They took some of the produce of the land and brought it down to us. They also brought back word to us. "The land Adonai our God is giving to us is good." But you would not go up. Instead, you rebelled against the order of Adonai your God, and in your tents you complained. It's because Adonai hated us that he has brought us out of the land of Egypt, only to hand us over to the Amori to destroy us. What sort of place is that we're heading for? Our brothers made our courage fail when they said, "The people are bigger and taller than we are. The cities are great and fortified up to the sky." And finally, "We have seen the Anakim there." I answered you, "Don't be fearful. Don't be afraid of them. Adonai your God is going ahead of you, will fight on your behalf, just as he accomplished all those things for you in Egypt before your eyes, and likewise in the desert, where you saw how Adonai your God carried you like a man carries his child along the entire way you traveled until you arrived at this place. Yet in this matter, you don't trust Adonai your God, even though he went ahead of you, seeking out places for you to pitch your tents and showing you which way to go, by fire at night and by a cloud during the day. Adonai heard what you were saying, became angry and swore, "Not a single one of these people, this whole evil generation, will see the good land I swore to give to your ancestors, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. He will see it. I will give him and his descendants the land he walked on, because he has fully followed Adonai." Also, because of you, Adonai was angry with me and said, "You too will not go in there. Yehoshua, the son of Nun, your assistant, he will go in there. So encourage him, because he will enable Israel to take possession of it. Moreover, your little ones, who you said would be taken as booty, your children who don't yet know good from bad, they will go in there. I will give it to them, and they will have possession of it. But as for yourselves, turn around and head into the desert by the road of the Sea of Suf." Then you answered me, "We have sinned against Adonai. Now we will go up and fight, in accordance with everything Adonai our God ordered us." And every man among you put on his arms, considering it an easy matter to go up into the hill country. But Adonai said to me, "Tell them, don't go up and don't fight, because I am not there with you. If you do, your enemies will defeat you." So I told you, But you wouldn't listen. Instead, you rebelled against Adonai's order, took matters into your own hands, and went up into the hill country, where the Amori living in that hill country came out against you like bees, defeated you in Seir, and chased you back all the way to Hormah. You returned and cried before Adonai, but Adonai neither listened to what you said nor paid you any attention. This is why you had to stay in Kadesh as long as you did. Then we turned and began traveling into the desert along the road to the Sea of Suf, as Adonai had said to me, and we skirted Mount Seir for a long time. Finally, Adonai said to me, "You have been going around this mountain long enough. Head north and give this order to the people. You are to pass through the territory of your kinsmen, the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir. They will be afraid of you, so be very cautious, and don't get into disputes with them, for I am not going to give you any of their land, no, not even for 1 foot to stand on, inasmuch as I have given Mount Seir to Esau as his possession. Pay them money for the food you eat, and pay them money for the water you drink, for Adonai your God has blessed you in everything your hands have produced. He knows that you have been traveling through this vast desert. These 40 years Adonai your God has been with you, and you have lacked nothing." So we went on past our kinsmen, the descendants of Esau, living in Seir, left the road through the Arava from Elat and Etzion Gever, and turned to pass along the road through the desert of Moab. Adonai said to me, "Don't be hostile toward Moab, or fight with them, because I will not give you any of their land to possess, since I have already given Ar to the descendants of Lot as their territory." The Emim used to live there, a great and numerous people as tall as the Anakim. They were also considered Raphaim, as are the Anakim, but the Moabim call them Emim. In Seir, the Horim used to live, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed and destroyed them, settling in their place. Israel did similarly in the land it came to possess, which Adonai gave to them. Now get going and cross Wadi Sared. So we crossed Wadi Sared. The time between our leaving Kadesh Barnea and our crossing Wadi Sared was 38 years, until the whole generation of men capable of bearing arms had been eliminated from the camp, as Adonai had sworn they would be. Moreover, Adonai's hand was against them to root them out of the camp until the last of them was gone. When all the men who were able to bear arms had died and were no longer part of the people, Adonai said to me, "Today you are to cross the border of Moab at Ar. When you approach the descendants of Ammon, don't bother them or fight with them, for I will not give you any of the territory of the people of Ammon to possess, since I have given it to the descendants of Lot as their territory. This too is considered a land of the Rephaim, whom the Amori called Zamzumim, used to live there. They were a large, numerous people, as tall as the Anakim, but Adonai destroyed them as the people of Ammon advanced and settled in their place, just as he destroyed the Horim as descendants of Esau advanced into Seir and settled in their place, where they live to this day. It was the same with the Avim, who lived in villages as far away as Azah. The Kaphtorim, coming from Kaphtor, destroyed them and settled in their place. Get up, get moving, and cross the Arnon Valley. Here, I have put in your hands Sihon, the Amori, king of Heshbon, and his land. Commence the conquest. Begin the battle. Today I will start putting the fear and dread of you into all the peoples under heaven, so that the mere mention of your name will make them quake and tremble before you." I sent envoys from the Kedemot desert to Sihon, king of Heshbon, with a peaceable message. "Let me pass through your land. I will keep to the road, turning neither right nor left. You will sell me food to eat for money and give me water to drink for money. I only want to pass through. Do as the people of Esau living in Seir and the Moabim living in Ar did with me, until I cross the Yarden into the land Adonai our God is giving us. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass through his territory because Adonai, your God, had hardened his spirit and made him stubborn, so he could hand him over to you on the edge of the Arnon Valley, and from the city in the valley all the way to Galid, there was not one city too well fortified for us to capture. Adonai our God gave all of them to us. The only land you didn't approach was that of the descendants of Ammon, the region around the Yabok River, the cities in the hills, wherever else Adonai our God forbade us to go. Then we turned and went up the road to Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us with his people to fight at Edrei. Adonai said to me, "Don't be afraid of him, for I have handed him, all his people, and his territory over to you, and you will do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amori, who lived in Heshbon." So Adonai our God also handed over to us Og, the king of Bashan, with all his people, and we defeated him until he had no one left. At that time we captured all his cities. There was not one city of theirs that we didn't capture. There were 60 cities, all the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan, all of them fortified cities with high walls, gates, and bars, in addition to a great number of unwalled towns. We completely destroyed them, as we did with Sihon, king of Heshbon, annihilating every city, men, women, and little ones. But we took all the livestock, along with the spoil from the cities, as booty for ourselves. At that time, we captured the territory of the 2 kings of the Amori east of the Yarden, between the Arnon Valley and Mount Hermon. The Hermon, which the Zidoniim call Zirion, and the Amori call Senir. All the cities of the plain, all Gilad, and all Bashan, as far as Salcah and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. Og, king of Bashan, was the last survivor of the Rephaim. His bed was made of iron. It is still in Rabbah with the people of Ammon. It was 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, using the normal cubit. Of this land that we took possession of then, I assigned to the Reuveni and the Gadi the territory extending from Aroer along the Arnon Valley, together with half the hill country of Gilad, including its cities. The rest of Gilad and all Bashan, the kingdom of Og, I gave to the half-tribe of Manasseh. The whole region of Argob, together with all of Bashan, form what is called the land of Rephaim. Yair, the son of Manasseh, took all the region of Argob as far as the border with the Geshuri and the Ma'akhati. He named this whole area, including Bashan, after himself. It remains Havot Yair to this day. I gave Gilad to Machir, and to the Reuveni and the Gadi I gave the territory from Gilad to the Arnon Valley, with the middle of the valley as the border, and as far as the Yabok River, which is the border with the people of Ammon, and the Arava too, the Yarden being its border, from Kinneret to the sea of the Arava, the Dead Sea, at the foot of the slopes of Pisgah to the east. At that time I gave you this order: Adonai your God has given you this land to possess, but all of you who are fit to fight must cross over armed ahead of your brothers, the people of Israel, your wives, your little ones, and your livestock. I know you have much livestock, will stay in your cities which I have given you, until Adonai allows your brothers to rest, as he has allowed you. And they too take possession of the land Adonai your God is giving them on the west side of the Yarden. At that point you will return each man to his own possession, which I have given you. Also at that time I gave this order to Joshua. Your eyes have seen everything that Adonai your God has done to these two kings. Adonai will do the same to all the kingdoms you encounter when you cross over. Don't be afraid of them, because Adonai your God will fight on your behalf. Parsha 45, Va'ekanan, chapter 3 to chapter 7, verse 11. Then I pleaded with Adonai. Adonai Elohim, you have begun to reveal your greatness to your servant and your strong hand. For what other God is there in heaven or on earth that can do the works and mighty deeds that you do? Please let me go across and see the good land on the other side of the Yarden, that wonderful hill country and the Lebanon. But Adonai was angry with me on account of you, and he didn't listen to me. Adonai said to me, "Enough from you. Don't say another word to me about this matter. Climb up to the top of Pisgah and look out to the west, north, south, and east. Look with your eyes, but you will not go across this Yarden. However, commission Yehoshua, encourage him and strengthen him, for he will lead this people across and enable them to inherit the land that you will see." So we stayed in the valley across from Beit Peor. Now, Israel, listen to the laws and rulings I am teaching you in order to follow them so that you will live. Then you will go in and take possession of the land that Adonai, the God of your fathers, is giving you, in order to obey the mitzvot of Adonai your God, which I am giving you. Do not add to what I am saying, and do not subtract from it. You saw with your own eyes what Adonai did at Baal Peor, that Adonai destroyed from among you all the men who followed Baal Peor. But you who stuck with Adonai your God are still alive today, every one of you. Look, I have taught you laws and rulings, just as Adonai my God ordered me, so that you can behave accordingly in the land where you are going in order to take possession of it. Therefore, observe them, follow them, for then all peoples will see you as having wisdom and understanding. When they hear all these laws, they will say, "This great nation is surely a wise and understanding people." For what great nation is there that has God as close to them as Adonai our God is, whenever we call on him? What great nation is there that has laws and rulings as just as this entire Torah, which I am setting before you today? Only be careful and watch yourselves diligently as long as you live, so that you won't forget what you saw with your own eyes, so that these things won't vanish from your hearts. Rather, make them known to your children and grandchildren, the day you stood before Adonai your God at Horeb, when Adonai said to me, "Gather the people to me, and I will make them hear my very words, so that they will learn to hold me in awe as long as they live on earth, and so that they will teach their children." You approached and stood at the foot of the mountain. The mountain blazed with fire to the heart of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick mist. Then Adonai spoke to you out of the fire. You heard the sound of words, but saw no shape. There was only a voice. He proclaimed his covenant to you, which he ordered you to obey, the 10 words, and he wrote them on 2 stone tablets. At that time, Adonai ordered me to teach you laws and rulings so that you would live by them in the land you are entering in order to take possession of it. Therefore, watch yourselves. Since you did not see a shape of any kind on the day Adonai spoke to you in Horeb from the fire, do not become corrupt and make yourselves a carved image having the shape of any figure, not a representation of a human being, male or female, or a representation of any animal on earth, or a representation of any bird that flies in the air, or a representation of anything that creeps along on the ground, or a representation of any fish in the water below the shoreline. For the same reason, do not look up at the sky, at the sun, moon, stars, and everything in the sky, and be drawn away to worship and serve them. Adonai, your God, has allotted these to all the peoples under the entire sky. No, you, Adonai, has taken and brought out of the smelting furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people of inheritance for him, as you are today. But Adonai was angry with me on account of you and swore that I would not cross the Jordan and go into that good land which Adonai your God is giving you to inherit. Rather, I must die in this land and not cross the Jordan. But you are to cross and take possession of that good land. Watch out for yourselves, so that you won't forget the covenant of Adonai your God, which he made with you, and make yourself a carved image, a representation of anything forbidden to you by Adonai your God. For Adonai your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. When you have had children and grandchildren, lived a long time in the land, become corrupt, and made a carved image, a representation of something, and thus done what is evil in the sight of Adonai your God, and provoked him, I call on the sky and the earth to witness against you today that you will quickly disappear from the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. You will not prolong your days there, but will be completely destroyed. Adonai will scatter you among the peoples and among the nations to which Adonai will lead you away, and you will be left few in number. There you will serve gods, which are the product of human hands, made of wood and stone, which can't see, hear, or eat, or smell. However, from there you will seek Adonai your God, and you will find him if you search for him with your heart and your being. In your distress, when all these things have come upon you, in the Akarit Hayamim, you will return to Adonai your God and listen to what he says. For Adonai your God is a merciful God. He will not fail you, destroy you, or forget the covenant with your ancestors, which he swore to them. Indeed, inquire about the past before you were born. Since the day God created human beings on the earth, from one end of heaven to the other, has there ever been anything as wonderful as this? Has anyone heard anything like it? Did any other people ever hear the voice of God speaking out of a fire as you have heard and stay alive? Or has God ever tried to go and take for himself a nation from the very bowels of another nation by means of ordeals, signs, wonders, war, a mighty hand, an outstretched arm, and great terrors, like all that Adonai your God did for you in Egypt before your very eyes? This was shown to you so that you would know that Adonai is God, and there is no other beside him. From heaven he caused you to hear his voice in order to instruct you, and on earth he caused you to see his great fire, and you heard his very words coming out from the fire. Because he loved your ancestors, chose their descendants after them, and brought you out of Egypt with his presence and great power, in order to drive out ahead of you nations greater and stronger than you, so that he would bring you in and give you their land as an inheritance, as is the case today. Know today and establish it in your heart that Adonai is God in heaven above and on earth below. There is no other. Therefore, you are to keep his laws and mitzvot, which I am giving you today, so that it will go well with you and with your children after you, and so that you will prolong your days in the land Adonai your God is giving you forever. Then Moshe separated 3 cities on the east side of the Jordan toward the sunrise, to which a killer might flee, that is, someone who kills by mistake a person whom he did not previously hate, and upon fleeing to one of these cities might live there. The cities were Betzer in the desert, in the flat land for the Reuveni, Ramot in Gilad for the Gadi, and Golan in Bashan for the Manasseh. This is the Torah which Moshe placed before the people of Israel. These are the instructions, laws, and rulings which Moshe preached at the foot of the slopes of Pisgah. Then Moshe called to all Israel and said to them, "Listen, Israel, to the laws and rulings which I am announcing in your hearing today, so that you will learn them and take care to obey them. Adonai, your God, made a covenant with us at Horeb. Adonai did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, who are all of us here alive today. Adonai spoke with you face to face from the fire on the mountain. At that time I stood between Adonai and you in order to tell you what Adonai was saying, because on account of the fire you were afraid and wouldn't go up onto the mountain. He said, I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, where you lived as slaves. You are to have no other gods before me. You are not to make for yourselves a carved image or any kind of representation of anything in heaven above, on the earth beneath, or in the water below the shoreline. You are not to bow down to them or serve them, for I, Adonai your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sins of the parents, also the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but displaying grace to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and obey my mitzvot. You are not to misuse the name of Adonai your God, because Adonai will not leave unpunished someone who misuses his name. Observe the day of Shabbat, to set it apart as holy, as Adonai your God ordered you. You have 6 days to labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Shabbat for Adonai your God. On it you are not to do any kind of work, not you, your son or your daughter, not your male or female slave, not your ox, your donkey, or any of your livestock, and not the foreigner staying with you inside the gates of your property, so that your male and female servants can rest just as you do. You are to remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Adonai your God brought you out from there with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore Adonai your God has ordered you to keep the day of Shabbat. Honor your father and mother, as Adonai your God ordered you to do, so that you will live long and have things go well with you in the land of Adonai your God is giving you. Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not give false evidence against your neighbor. Do not covet your neighbor's wife, do not covet your neighbor's house, his field, his male or female slave, his ox, his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. These words Adonai spoke to your entire gathering at the mountain from fire, cloud, and thick mist in a loud voice. Then it ceased. But he wrote them on 2 stone tablets, which he gave to me. When you heard the voice coming out of the darkness, as the mountain blazed with fire, you came to me, all the heads of your tribes and your leaders, and said, Here, Adonai our God has shown us his glory and his greatness. We have heard his voice coming from the fire, and we have seen today that God does speak with human beings, and they stay alive. But why should we keep risking death? This great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of Adonai our God anymore, we will die. For who is there of all humanity that has heard the voice of the living God speaking from the fire as we have and stayed alive? You go near and hear everything Adonai our God says. Then you will tell us everything Adonai our God says to you, and we will listen to it and do it. Adonai heard what you were saying when you spoke to me, and Adonai said to me, I have heard what this people has said when speaking to you, and everything they have said is good. Oh, how I wish their hearts would stay like this always, that they would fear me and obey all my mitzvot, so that it will go well with them and their children forever. Go, tell them to return to their tents, but you stand here by me, and I will tell you all the mitzvot, laws and rulings which you are to teach them, so that they can obey them in the land I am giving them as their possession. Therefore, you are to be careful to do as Adonai your God has ordered you. You are not to deviate either to the right or the left. You are to follow the entire way which Adonai your God has ordered you, so that you will live, things will go well with you, and you will live long in the land you are about to possess. Now this is the mitzvah, the laws and rulings which Adonai your God ordered me to teach you, for you to obey in the land you are crossing over to possess, so that you will fear Adonai your God and observe all his regulations and mitzvot that I am giving you, your child, and your grandchild, as long as you live, and so that you will have long life. Therefore listen, Israel, and take care to obey, so that things will go well with you, and so that you will increase greatly, as Adonai, the God of your ancestors, promised you by giving you a land flowing with milk and honey. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear Israel, Adonai our God, Adonai is one. And you are to love Adonai your God with all your heart and all your being and all your resources. These words, which I am ordering you today, are to be on your heart, and you are to teach them carefully to your children. You are to talk about them when you sit at home, when you are traveling on the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them on your hand as a sign. Put them at the front of a headband around your forehead, and write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. When Adonai, your God, has brought you into the land he swore to your ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that he would give you, cities great and prosperous, which you didn't build, houses full of all sorts of good things, which you didn't fill, water cisterns dug, which you didn't dig, vineyards and olive trees, which you didn't plant, and you have eaten your fill, then be careful not to forget Adonai, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, where you lived as slaves. You are to fear Adonai your God, serve him and swear by his name. You are not to follow other gods chosen from the gods of the peoples around you, because Adonai your God, who is here with you, is a jealous God. If you do, the anger of Adonai your God will flare up against you, and he will destroy you from the face of the earth. Do not put Adonai your God to the test as you tested him at Massah. Observe diligently the mitzvot of Adonai your God and his instructions and laws which he has given you. You are to do what is right and good in the sight of Adonai, so that things will go well with you, and you will enter and possess the good land Adonai swore to your ancestors, expelling all your enemies ahead of you, as Adonai said. Someday your child will ask you, what is the meaning of the instructions, laws, and rulings which Adonai, our God, has laid down for you? Then you will tell your child, we were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and Adonai brought us out of Egypt with a strong hand. Adonai worked great and terrible signs and wonders against Egypt, Pharaoh and all his household, before our very eyes. He brought us out from there in order to bring us to the land he had sworn to our ancestors that he would give us. Adonai ordered us to observe all these laws, to fear Adonai our God, always for our own good, so that he might keep us alive as we are today. It will be righteousness for us if we are careful to obey all these mitzvot before Adonai our God, just as he ordered us to do. Adonai your God is going to bring you into the land you will enter in order to take possession of it, and he will expel many nations ahead of you, the Hittite, Girgashi, Amori, Canaanite, Perizi, Hivi, and Yebusi. 7 nations, bigger and stronger than you. When he does this, when Adonai, your God, hands them over ahead of you and you defeat them, you are to destroy them completely. Do not make any covenant with them. Show them no mercy. Don't intermarry with them. Don't give your daughter to his son, and don't take his daughter for your son, for he will turn your children away from following me in order to serve other gods. If this happens, the anger of Adonai will flare up against you, and he will quickly destroy you. No, treat them this way. Break down their altars, smash their standing stones to pieces, cut down their sacred poles, and burn up their carved images completely. For you are a people set apart as holy for Adonai your God. Adonai your God has chosen you out of all the peoples on the face of the earth to be his own unique treasure. Adonai didn't set his heart on you or chose you because you numbered more than any other people. On the contrary, you were the fewest of all people. Rather, it was because Adonai loved you and because he wanted to keep the oath which he had sworn to your ancestors, that Adonai brought you out with a strong hand and redeemed you from a life of slavery under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. From this you can know that Adonai your God is indeed God, the faithful God, who keeps his covenant and extends grace to those who love him and observe his mitzvot to 1,000 generations. But he repays those who hate him to their face and destroys them. He will not be slow to deal with someone who hates him. He will repay him to his face. Therefore, you are to keep the mitzvot, laws and rulings, which I am giving you today, and obey them.